got short money, but I need some wheels.
Call Mac, he got easy deals. Get down with the dollar down.
Get yourself an outfit.
Denim.
Boots and pants and boots and pants.
Haircut. New shoes.
So get yourself back to school.
Hey, this man needs help. His baby mama put him out and he ain't got no furniture.
Let him have it.
On the next episode of AMC's The Walking Dead.
Welcome back to Wordy and Nerdy. I hope you're doing well. Crafting a good dramatic TV show and maintaining it takes a lot of work. You need a writing staff that's able to write scripts that can maintain an audience attention throughout the whole season. You need an actor that understands their character and able to make the audience understand their character motivation, no matter how horrible their actions are. Then there's music, where you have to build a score that not only matches the scene, but also improves the scene. And finally, there is directing, where someone has to stack everything together to make a beautiful show.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
If you remove one piece from this puzzle, the whole series falls apart.
The Iron Fleet.
Today, we'll be comparing The Walking Dead to The Last of Us. One show that is able to maintain this foundation and craft a perfect dramatic TV show, while the other show slowly died and became an unwatchable show. And comparing the viewership of The Walking Dead's final season to the previous season, a lot of people felt the same way.
I like this guy. Now fuck this guy.
Let's talk about pacing first. One of the biggest problems with The Walking Dead. So what is The Walking Dead about? The Walking Dead is a zombie show based on a comic book series that aired from 2010 to 2022 about a group of survivors living in a zombie-infested world. The show follows Rick Grimes, a cop that wakes up in a hospital after a shootout and doesn't realize the zombie apocalypse has happened. After he realizes zombies are loose across the world, next thing he wants to do is find his wife and kids. A simple plot, but like I said, pacing and execution is the key to everything. How long do you think this plot will last? Maybe a season to make you truly understand the character and see all the struggle he goes through, and finally at the end of the season he sees his family, making you feel like you went on a journey with him? What if I told you he finds his family on episode 3? No build up, just boom, he finds them.
Now what?
So what is the overall plot now? Well, there's no overall plot. You just watch these characters try to live in the world dealing with zombies or the occasional psychopath. They're not in a search for the cure to stop the zombies. It's just them living. Well, that is fine at first. After the 5th time a zombie breaks into the outpost or the psychopath leader of the season tries to kill them, it gets really boring really fast. And it makes you feel like there is no end in sight.
I'm waiting, old man.
Let me give you an example. The Governor arc. The Governor is one of the main villains of The Walking Dead. The first introduction of the Governor is in Season 3. The Governor is shown as the leader of a town named Woodbury. Woodbury is a settlement where survivors live normal lives, but something seems off. How do they get their supplies? Well, the governor goes around killing anyone he finds and takes all their supplies for his people. Not only that, later on in the season, we are shown that he has a secret room where he has a jar of zombies and his zombie daughter chained up, where he occasionally tries to talk to her.
Excuse me, is this building in safety? Yes, Thank you very much. By the way, very fucked up whatever I saw here.
So, saying he's not all right in the head is a little bit of an understatement. Eventually, he captures Rick's survivor, Michonne, as a prisoner. Michonne escapes from her cell and then goes into the governor's secret room and kills the governor's zombie's daughter. Then they fight. Eventually, Michonne gets the upper hand and stabs out his eye, giving him a signature eye patch, just like the comics. This, of course, leads to a all-out war with Rick and the governor. So for the rest of the season, we watch Rick and the governor prepare to fight each other. Eventually, Merle, a fan-favorite character, decided to take action in his own hand by attacking the governor on his own. This plan does not go well, and it leads to him being killed, which leads into one of the most heartbreaking scenes on the show, where Zombie Merle was killed by his own brother Daryl. So fans were ready for the finale, where the governor finally died. So what happens in the finale? The governor attacks the prison. Glenn and Maggie, two of Rick's survivor fans, stop the whole entire attack by shooting at them in riot gear armor. The governor runs away with his soldier, and then suddenly he pulls out a gun and kills all of his soldiers. Yes, that lame, stupid trope that villains used to do, which makes no sense and makes your villain look like an idiot for killing his own men. And then the episode ends. Overall, it was a horrible finale and a big disappointment for fans.
This is the most obnoxious thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Then the season 4 premiered. They introduced a disease where it's killing people and turning them into zombies much faster. Even though they've been living in this dirty ass prison for an entire season now, and there has been no disease. But oh well, who cares anymore? You might be asking, what about the governor? Who? Who cares about him anymore? I'm sorry, this disease plot that makes zero sense is super important and now has to take 5 episodes to resolve. Then at the end of episode 5, they leave us with a nice little cliffhanger of the governor appearing again. You might be thinking next week is going to be the fight between Rick and the governor. Well, you're wrong, and the show thinks you're an idiot for even thinking that. We now have 2-hour-long episodes telling the audience what the governor was up to during the time of the whole disease storyline. This episodes involve the governor getting a brand new army. You know, governor, you wouldn't have this problem if you didn't kill your own soldier. But you're just stupid now. Finally, on episode 8 of season 4, we get the conclusion to the governor arc. The governor attacks Rick and the fans, kills a fan favorite character, Herschel. Rick and Michonne gets the upper hand on him, and they eventually kill him. We are finally done with this governor arc, and it only took 21 episodes to finish this whole arc. This was the first nail in the coffin of The Walking Dead. After this episode, fans of The Walking Dead started to ask the question, is The Walking Dead still worth watching? And I can't blame them. The pacing of the show is shit, and it never recovered from this moment. The show is actively wasting your time. Let's switch gears to The Last of Us. How do they handle their villain arcs? On episode 8, we are introduced to David. David is a preacher who is a leader of a town of survivors. While David is hunting a deer, he runs into Ellie. Ellie points a gun at him. David tells Ellie that Joel killed some of his men and he wants revenge on Joel. Ellie gets attacked by David's men and gets kidnapped. While Ellie is locked up in a cell, it's shown that David is a fucked up human being. It's shown that he's actively feeding his people human flesh.
Good soup.
Not only that, he wants Ellie to become a member of his group, and he starts reaching his hand out to her.
That's a child.
And that's an ugly, pimply bitch.
Later on in the episode, Ellie breaks free of the cell and leads to a fight between Ellie and David. Ellie gets the upper hand and slaughters David with a machete, a moment that forever changed Ellie as a person. How long did this villain arc take? 1 episode? No dragging this plotline for an entire season because The Last of Us actually knows how to pace out a show, unlike The Walking Dead, and it actually cares about its fans, unlike The Walking Dead?
That sign can't stop me because I can't read.
Like all media being transferred into a TV show, changes will need to be made. However, you need to be careful that these changes improve the source material instead of changes that ruin your entire show.
Have you shot your final scenes yet, and are you happy with how things ended? Yes. She didn't say yes. Best season ever!
Before the David brothers, there was Scott Gimli. Scott Gimli was the producer and writer for The Walking Dead, and he had very little respect for the source material. He would make any change he felt like on the day. He would change characters completely different from how they were in the comics, add characters that were never in the comics, and kill characters randomly just to piss off fans. One of the biggest changes that Scott ever did was Glenn. A lot of fans love Glenn. He was the heart of The Walking Dead. Glenn was a common man. He was not a cop or a badass motorcycle dude. In fact, he delivered pizza before the whole zombie apocalypse.
Hey kid, what'd you do before all this? Delivered pizzas? Why?
A lot of fans looked at Glenn like themselves, and it was enjoying watching a common man become a zombie-killing badass. However, a lot of comic book readers knew Glenn would die once Negan showed up in the show. It's a really important death within the comics, and it changes the whole storyline. So in season 6, it was going along like a normal season. Then suddenly, this scene happened. The episode ends with you not knowing that he died. When this happened, fans were fucking pissed.
Since season 1, episode 2.
I'm not watching the show anymore.
Fuck this.
And like we discussed in the previous section, the show had horrible pacing, and it loved dragging any storyline out. So fans not only had to wait for 1 episode, no. They had to wait a full month until we find out if Glenn died or not. And guess what? He didn't die. Scott wasn't done breaking the fans' trust. During the final episode of season 6, they finally showed Negan. After Negan showed up, he gave a speech about how he's going to beat the shit out of one of the characters. And then this scene happens.
Hell, you're all gonna be doing that.
Taking it like a champ.
This is what happens in the final 10 seconds of the season finale. And you had to wait a whole year to find out who died. So saying the Walking Dead subreddit was a complete shit show was an understatement. During this complete shit show, a lot of fans were speculating, like, he's not gonna kill Glenn since he already did this whole fake death thing and pretty much gave us a roller coaster of emotions in the first place. No. You are wrong. In season 7 of premiere, not only did Scott double down in killing Glenn, he killed 2 characters at the same time.
No. You know what? That's it. I'm done. I quit. I give up. I tried. I really tried.
This was the point where everyone left the show. Fans were tired of Scott playing with their emotions, and viewership took a nosedive and never recovered. It dropped between 17 million to 12 million in one episode, and it did not get past 12 million again, ever in the entire show. It just completely ruined it. I'm sure Scott learned his lesson from this, right?
Carl.
Let's talk about Carl. Carl is Rick Grimes' son. Carl was a scared child that grew up in a zombie-infested world. He had no chance to live a normal life. Throughout the series, we slowly see the scared child become a zombie-killing badass. In the comics, Carl eventually becomes the leader of the group once Rick dies. It's a very important scene, and you should not change this at all. Scott, being Scott, realized the viewership was going downhill, and at the last second decision, he decided, fuck it. Fuck the story. We need to bring everyone back. Let's just do a shock death. Maybe you bring back viewership? So, how do they kill Carl off the show? Instead of a badass way where he gets killed by Negan or gets shot in the head, no. He's randomly in the woods and meets a random other survivor, and then a zombie pops out of nowhere. And you're like, oh, it's just a basic zombie. Carl's gonna take care of this. For some reason, he does not take care of it, and the zombie bites him on the stomach.
Oh, look! An idiot! Let's point and laugh!
Don't worry, it gets way worse. So everyone speculated, like, oh, maybe the actor was leaving for college, so they killed him off or something like that. Nope! Later, in a few years, we found out the reason why. Scott did this for story purposes, to give Rick a reason to fight Negan. Even though we already had the reason for years now, since they already had a whole season of them fighting each other and was losing viewership. But they like, oh, let's have this shock death. So later on, we find out from the actor who played Carl that he actually bought a house where they filmed The Walking Dead. And he was completely shocked that this happened. Even his father was pissed off that Scott did this.
The most important thing is you gotta give the people what they want. Even if it kills you, even if it empties you out until there's nothing left to empty. No matter what happens, no matter how much it hurts, you don't stop dancing and you don't stop smiling and you give those people what they want.
So did this A-plus plan from Scott from making these two major changes with Glenn and Carl work out to bring back viewership? God, no. Viewership went downhill even more after Carl. Nothing worked out for Scott. All of his plans to change from the source material backfired. And both of these changes were the final nail in the coffin for The Walking Dead. Everything else after that didn't even matter. The show was dead at this point. To prove that the show was even dead more, actors started to leave. First it was Rick, then it was Michonne. Yes, two major characters that have been in the show for years were just written out of this story. You know you fucked up when two actors who loved the show left. So, how does The Last of Us transfer their source material to TV show? 1,000 times better than The Walking Dead. The two major changes that they did from the source material actually improved the show. Let's talk about both of them. Bill has a minor role within the games. His role within the games is just to help Joe and Ellie find a ride. While finding a ride, Bill and Joe would talk shit to each other while killing zombies. Eventually, they run into a house where Bill finds his friend Hank has hung himself. Before he died, Hank wrote a note calling Bill an asshole. Bill does not take it well, and before Joel leaves, he tells Joel this.
Look, Bill, about your buddy back there, that's a tough deal. And
We square?
we're square.
Then get the fuck out of my town.
This shows that he clearly cares about Hank more than friends, and he's unable to process his death. The story writers Neil Druckmann and Craig explore this moment even more within the show and improves the character. Instead of Frank killing himself, we watch Frank and Bill live an entire life together, where they met, how they fall in love, and their eventual death. Not only does this add a whole new dimension to the show, it's one of the most emotional episodes of the seasons, and some fans even say it's the best episode of the season. Let's talk about Sam. Sam's role within the TV show is similar to the game, except for one difference: him being deaf. Him being deaf adds a new dimension to his relationship with Henry. Not only does this add a new dimension to the relationship, Henry is the only person that can communicate with Sam. Not a lot of people in the apocalypse times know sign language, so they need each other in order to survive in this deadly world. As soon as Sam dies, Henry does not want to go on because they needed each other. Sam was the heart for Henry, and Henry was the reason why Sam was able to live. So without one of them, they're both dead. Both of these changes improved the source material. Neil Druckmann and Craig knew what to do and knew what to change, unlike The Walking Dead that changed anything just to get viewership attention. And guess what? What show is critically loved and what show isn't?
Where's the base? Where's the base? The super stereo. And I found the base!
Find the base only in North Seattle at Super Stereo Warehouse.
Cringe. There's no other word for it. This makes me cringe. It's embarrassing.
Let's talk about ads. The Walking Dead premiered back in 2010. The only way you could watch it was on cable, which makes sense. At the time, there was no streaming services. Eventually, over time, streaming services came out and offered you a way to watch dramatic shows with no ads. The Walking Dead never improved. It never went to a streaming service, never did anything like this. In fact, it just stayed on cable for the rest of the showtime. So, at the beginning of this video, I showed you how it's basically like to watch The Walking Dead. All you get is scenes that are dragged out, and nothing really happens, and eventual boring-ass ads that just ruin the entire pacing for the show, and it's not even worth it because you're like, I can just go on HBO Max and watch Succession, or The Westworld, or any other show that doesn't have ads. To prove my point even more, here's a scene from The Last of Us with ads.
I just know that when I wake up, I've lost something. I'm failing in my sleep. It's all I do. It's all I've ever done. It's failure. Again and again.
Call of Duty. Advanced Warfare. Xbox One.
Copy that.
You want me to take her? I'm just gonna get her killed. I know it. I know it.
Kinda takes you out of the show, right? Yeah, I definitely agree. That's why cable fucking sucks. What about The Walking Dead caused it to die? A lot of shit. Another thing that caused it to die was oversaturation. This show loved its spin-offs. The Walking Dead has a total of 6 spin-off shows. Talk about oversaturation. They wanted to milk this series dry. There was plenty of articles saying that The Walking Dead could last forever, and it really could have. But you know what happens when you write a show that could last forever? It eventually gets boring. People realize that there's no pacing. They realize you're not following the source material, and they all leave. Then The Last of Us came out, a zombie show that was amazingly written, with great pacing, and cares about the source material. And guess what? It doesn't have ads. Even better than whatever The Walking Dead was trying to do. And you know what? Neil Druckmann didn't come out and say, oh, since The Last of Us was a great success, I'm going to announce 50 million spin-off shows. No, he didn't do that at all. He's like, well, we're going to continue working on season 2 and improve it even better. That's all you need to do, Walking Dead. You don't need 5 million shows. And it proves that following the source material, listening to the fans, and actually caring about what you write is really freaking important. And The Walking Dead never cared. It never did. It just wanted to go on forever. Now, let's wrap everything up. Over this course of this video, I've shown you that The Last of Us is everything I wanted out of The Walking Dead. But now that The Walking Dead is over and everyone moved on, and some people didn't even realize it ended, and I can't even blame you, because it felt like the show never ended. In fact, the ending of the show showed an announcement for a bunch of spin-off shows, so that's great. So here are my final words for The Walking Dead. Thank you for wasting my time and never delivering an actual good finale. You just wasted all your friends' time. And all you're going to be remembered as is that show that never ended and ruined all the potential it had.
Fantastic. This was a huge waste of my time.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Also, thank you for AC for telling me what you want in the next video. If you're interested in hearing about the horrible Hype House TV show, please click the subscribe button. On screen now, you can see a list of ideas I have for upcoming script videos. So please respond in the pinned comments below and tell me what you want next after the Hype House video. While you wait for the next scripted video, I will probably upload a edited down Twitch video and probably a upcoming podcast. Not sure about what movie yet, but it will definitely have Wordy in it. And Wordy has some upcoming script videos too. But while you wait for all of these videos come out, we have a Twitch channel. So yeah, come check us out. Either way, I thank you so much for watching this video. This was a long process, and I really did care about The Walking Dead. It just disappointed me that it was a big, giant disaster. But either way, see you guys next time. Bye.